we're taking a look at arpeggio patterns. I'm going to show you 4 arpeggio patterns, and I'm going to teach you an exercise on how to play through them that'll bring them a bit closer to practicality, okay? Practical playing. So let's take a look at the first one. It's a major arpeggio starting on the low E string. We're going to put our middle finger here on 5. Index is going to go on the 4th fret A string. Our ring finger actually is going to go on the 7th fret A string. Those are our first 3 notes, and we're playing an A major arpeggio. So we have the notes A, C sharp, and E. Okay. Our next note is another A note here on the D string 7. And we're going to be using our pinky finger for that note. Okay. If you want, you can also do a finger roll with your ring finger. So you can do something like middle, index, ring, ring. Okay, that's possible. Or you could even do a finger roll with your pinky if you want to do that, although that's going to seem a little awkward. Okay. For myself, I'm going to choose the route of ring finger and then pinky. Our next note is going to be with the middle finger. It's important that we use a middle finger for this note. And it's going to be on the G string 6. It's another C sharp note. Our index finger is going to hit the 5th fret B string. It's an E note. And it's also going to cover the high E string 5. So far, this is what we have. We have one more note we can hit that's reachable to us, and that is a C sharp note here with our pinky finger on 9 on the high E string. And then we're going to go backwards. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to memorize it with the proper fingering, and then you're going to be able to play it up and down without looking at the tabs that I provided below. And then I want you to break it up into groups of 3. So I want you to practice it like this. By practicing it like that, you learn how to break up the arpeggio into small pieces, and they're all usable. These are all small A major arpeggios. The first one is an A major arpeggio. The second one is, again, another A major arpeggio, and so on. Even this one that we're only using 2 strings for is an A major arpeggio. Let's take a look at our shape number 2. Shape number 2 is going to be a minor shape. So we did a major shape. Let's do a minor shape starting on the low E string. It's going to start here on 5 again because we're going to be playing A minor, but we're going to be using our index finger. Pinky is going to be on 8 on the low E string. Ring finger is going to hit 7 on the A string. It's going to finger roll down to 7 on the D string. We're going to hit 5 on the G string with the index finger. It's going to cover and finger roll down to 5 on the B string and 5 on the high E string. Okay. We have another reachable note here on 8 on the high E string. We're going to hit that with our pinky finger. So now we have an A minor arpeggio. Now for our exercise for this one, we're going to be doing the same thing we did with the major one. We're going to be breaking it apart in groups of 3. I want you to play each group 2 times. And then of course backwards. Our next arpeggio is going to be a major arpeggio starting on the A string, and it's going to look like this. So here's an E major arpeggio, starting with our pinky finger on 7 on the A string, our ring finger on 6 on the D string, index on the 4th fret G string, middle finger on the B string 5, index on the 4th fret high E string, and pinky finger on the 7th fret the high E string. So it's an E major arpeggio, which means we're playing the 3 notes E, G sharp, and B. Okay. Break it down the same way that we did the other arpeggios and play each section 2 times. One thing I didn't mention, when you're breaking down these arpeggios, there's actually little chords in them because, of course, an arpeggio is really a chord that's just broken up. So instead of playing them separately, we can just play them as chords. So there is an E major chord. Here's another one. Here's another one. And the last one we can't play as a chord because we're missing a string. But these are great alternatives to the E major chords that you might know already. Instead of playing that or possibly this one. Now you have some other options in coloring up a song or playing a song. You can use this E major, that inverted E major, this inverted E major as well. So these are other E major chords that you can play. And that's the same for all of the arpeggios that we did. You can break up any of them into chords. There's an inverted A minor, inverted A minor, regular A minor, inverted A minor. Okay, let's do the last one. The last one is a minor arpeggio on the A string. Okay, so we're going to do E minor. We're going to start with our pinky on the A string 7, middle finger on the D string 5, index on the G string 4, middle on the B string 5, index on the high E string 3, pinky on the high E string 7, and then backwards from there. Now, if you notice, we only changed one note in comparison to the E major arpeggio. We just changed what's called the major third to a minor third. And that's this note here. So the interval makeup of a minor arpeggio is root, minor third, perfect fifth. Root, minor third, perfect fifth. The major one is root, major third, perfect fifth, root, major third, perfect fifth. So now that you know these arpeggio shapes, practice them until you can play them in your sleep. I'm not kidding. You have to be able to play them so that you don't even focus on them at all. So don't forget to do them in groups of 3 like I mentioned. If you want, you can mess with them and do them in bigger groups. But it's going to help a lot to break them apart like that and to visualize the arpeggio in smaller chunks and not just these big massive arpeggios, because those are not really that usable. They're usable in certain, I guess, genres in certain situations, but overall that's not very practical to play an entire arpeggio like that. What is practical is to play smaller parts of arpeggios and build melodies out of them, and then of course mixing the other scale notes with the arpeggio. Using arpeggios can really give you a strong sense of melodies.